Welcome to Tomorrow Unveiled, where we dissect the cutting edge and bring you the insights that truly matter. Okay, let's unpack this. This past week, well, wasn't just another week in AI. It felt more like a pivot point. It's revealing a future for artificial intelligence that's, both exciting and actually profoundly different from what maybe many of us expected. So today, here on Tomorrow Unveiled, we're taking a deep dive into AI Unveiled. This week in AI news, we're sifting through the groundbreaking innovations our dedicated research team has brought to our attention. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise, extract the really important nuggets of knowledge, and basically give you a shortcut to being truly well-informed.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, I think, is this clear strategic divergence we're seeing. It's a move away from just chasing these huge, monolithic, general-purpose models. The focus seems to be unmistakably shifting towards a much more diverse ecosystem, specialized, efficient, and crucially, inherently trustworthy AI systems. And like you said, this isn't just incremental progress. It feels more like a foundational reevaluation of how AI is conceived, how it's built, and ultimately how it's deployed.
Right, and here's where it gets really interesting. Imagine AI models that aren't just smarter, but like dramatically leaner. Leaner in their energy needs, leaner in their data demands. Almost mimicking how our own brains work. It really seems that the growing limitations of just scaling models bigger and bigger, that's pushing innovators towards efficiency. And they're drawing inspiration from, well, the ultimate biological computer, the human brain.
Exactly. And a prime example our research team flagged is Spiking Brain 1.0 out of China. Now, this isn't just another large language model, even though it has, 7 billion and 76 billion parameter versions. The real innovation, the core of it, lies in its architecture. It's brain-inspired, neuromorphic, leveraging something called spiking neural networks, or SNNs.
SNNs, okay. How do those differ from traditional models?
Well, unlike traditional models that kind of process everything all at once, in parallel, SNNs activate only when needed. It's much more like how neurons in our brain work. They only fire when they have relevant information to process. And this approach, our research indicates, dramatically slashes computation and energy needs. They're reporting over 69% activation sparsity, which means most of the network is just quiet until a specific piece of information needs processing.
Wow, 69% sparsity. That sounds incredibly efficient.
It is, and the reported performance metrics are pretty stunning. They're talking over 100 times faster in what's called time to first token for really long sequences, like 4 million tokens. And maybe even more impressively, it apparently achieves comparable performance to mainstream models using less than 2% of the data typically required for that continual pre-training phase.
Less than 2% of the data. That's a game changer if it holds up.
It really could be. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, look, this isn't solely a technical marvel, right? It's a profound strategic play. The fact that it was developed and trained entirely on China's homegrown MEDIC XC550 GPU cluster, well, that underscores a very determined push towards technological self-sufficiency. It's a long-term strategic wager against the traditional transformer paradigm, that dominant architecture that's also notoriously resource-intensive.
So for anyone tracking the cutting edge, this isn't just about a faster chip, is it? It's a fundamental rethink.
Exactly. A rethink of what powers AI. It suggests lean and smart could potentially become more valuable than just big and brute force. Efficiency, not just raw power, might become the decisive advantage in the global AI race.
And our team also highlighted another example of this neuro-inspired design, right? Something called LP convolution in computer vision.
That's right. A slightly different angle, but the same theme of brain-like efficiency. This is a novel technique that it re-engineers the filters within convolutional neural networks, CNNs. It allows them to dynamically adapt their shape, almost like they're mimicking how the human visual cortex can focus and adjust. And the result, superior performance and robustness, especially when you're dealing with corrupted or noisy images, which, let's face it, is a huge deal for real-world applications where data isn't always perfect.
Okay, so AI is getting dramatically more efficient, more adaptable almost, more intelligently designed. But efficiency isn't everything. This new, more sophisticated AI, it also demands a new level of trustworthiness, doesn't it? And maybe a deeper understanding of the physical world it operates in. How are innovators tackling that challenge, moving beyond just, statistical pattern matching?
That's a absolutely vital consideration. I mean, how do we build AI we can genuinely rely on? How do we instill that trust? Well, our research team brought Vault Gemma from Google to our attention. And this looks like a genuinely groundbreaking achievement. It's reportedly the largest and most capable model ever trained from the ground up with something called differential privacy, or DP.
Differential privacy. Okay, break that down for us. What does that actually mean?
Yeah. Sure. So DP isn't just a feature bolted on, it's a rigorous mathematical framework. Think of it as providing a provable guarantee. A guarantee that the model's outputs cannot reveal sensitive information about any single individual in its training data. It's like a mathematical shield. It fundamentally prevents the model from memorizing specific personal details, which directly tackles a really significant privacy concern we've seen with large language models.
A provable guarantee.
Yeah.
That sounds powerful, especially for certain industries.
Immensely powerful. This kind of innovation clearly positions Google as a leader in responsible AI development. And you can immediately see how it could open doors for AI adoption in highly regulated sectors. Think healthcare, think finance, places where data leakage isn't just an issue, it's a critical barrier to adoption. Vault Gemma potentially lowers that barrier significantly.
And there's something else associated with it, scaling laws.
Yes, exactly. The accompanying research on scaling laws for differentially private language models, this is also really important. It essentially helps transform private AI development from this kind of trial and error process into a more predictable engineering discipline. That dramatically lowers the barrier for other organizations and researchers to build trustworthy AI with DP. It sort of democratizes the approach.
Okay, but is there a catch? Is it as good as the non-private models?
Well, that's the trade-off right now. There is what's called a recognized utility gap, which basically means its performance is, let's say, comparable to non-private models from maybe a few years ago. So it's not quite at the absolute cutting edge of performance yet, but, and this is the key point, the ability to guarantee privacy by design is rapidly becoming a powerful competitive differentiator. It's becoming a core product feature, not just a nice to have.
That utility gap you mentioned, where privacy means maybe a slight hit on performance, for now at least that's crucial, isn't it? Do you see a path for these differentially private models to catch up quickly? Or would we always face this kind of balancing act, weighing privacy against peak performance in these sensitive areas?
Look, it's definitely a dynamic trade-off, and the research suggests there's continuous improvement happening. The gap is likely to shrink. But even with the small gap, the core value proposition of guaranteed privacy for certain sensitive applications, that remains incredibly strong. And that strength is driving the investment needed to close that gap.
Okay, moving from privacy to physics. Let's talk about AI that truly understands the physical world. You mentioned AI as a true digital scientist. Imagine AI that doesn't just predict patterns, but actually knows its chemistry. No more digital alchemy, right?
Precisely. And that's what our research team highlighted with Flower from MIT. This is a generative AI model specifically designed for predicting chemical reactions. What's really clever is that it enforces fundamental physical constraints. It does this by actively tracking electron movement using something called a bond-electron matrix. Think of it like a digital map keeping track of exactly where electrons are moving within molecules during a reaction.
So it has to follow the rules, like conservation of mass.
Exactly. It ensures its predictions strictly adhere to fundamental laws like conservation of mass and electrons. This prevents those scientifically impossible hallucinations, where a model might predict a reaction that just couldn't happen in the real world. The application potential here is immense. Think rapid, accurate, in silico experimentation, basically doing experiments inside the computer.
Which must speed things up incredibly.
Hugely. It accelerates that crucial hypothesis generation phase of research in fields like pharmaceuticals, material science, even green chemistry. It's about freeing up human scientists from some of the more repetitive or time-consuming lab work, letting them focus on higher-level problem solving. You could compress discovery timelines from years down to months.
That's transformative. Okay, so beyond the scientific labs, AI is also becoming, quite literally, a co-pilot for humans, and even starting to look like an autonomous workforce in some areas. It's really reshaping daily life and business.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here, particularly in the co-pilot realm, is this core innovation of shared autonomy. Our research pointed us towards UCLA's AI Copilot brain-computer interface, or BCI. Now, this is a wearable, non-invasive BCI. That's important. It achieves a new level of performance because it integrates AI not just as an interpreter, but as an active collaborator.
Active collaborator, how does that work?
Well, it records EEG, signals those electrical impulses from your brain, but it also uses a camera-based AI copilot. This copilot observes the environment, tries to infer the user's intent from the noisy EEG signals in the visual context, and then actively assists in completing actions. For example, guiding a robotic arm with remarkable speed and precision.
And they showed real results with this.
Dramatic results, according to the research. They notably enabled a participant who was paralyzed to successfully complete a complex robotic arm manipulation task, a task that was apparently impossible for them without this specific AI assistance. This development is really interesting because it bridges the gap between, high performance but risky invasive BCIs and the existing low-fidelity non-invasive systems. It strongly suggests that the key to unlocking the huge potential of consumer neurotechnology might lie less in fancier hardware and more in developing smarter AI. AI that can extract clean, actionable signals from messy, noisy biological data. The innovation shifts towards intelligent software.
That's a profound shift. Moving beyond thinking of software as just a static tool we operate, this really marks a fundamental change, doesn't it? From a tool you use to a dynamic, goal-oriented actor, you can actually delegate complex tasks to. It completely rethinks operational workflows.
Absolutely. And that leads directly into the rise of agentic AI platforms. This is a major trend our research team is tracking. The industry is moving rapidly beyond simple chatbots. We're talking about comprehensive platforms designed for building and deploying autonomous AI agents. Agents designed to execute complex, multi-step tasks with minimal human intervention.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. The research highlights things like Salesforce launching Agentforce. OpenAI has explicitly updated its model spec to include agentic principles. And even major analysts like Gartner are identifying AI agents as a rapidly advancing, high-impact technology. It's becoming mainstream thinking very quickly.
Okay, let's broaden our lens now. All this evolution requires fuel, right? Let's talk about the strategic investments powering this shift, and also touch on some of the critical challenges and considerations that emerged this week.
Right. If we connect all these advancements to the bigger picture of investment, the flow of capital and strategic guidance is going to fundamentally reshape the entire enterprise software market. It's creating enormous opportunities both for nimble startups and, of course, for established players who adapt. And our research confirms a really significant market shift here. Generative AI has apparently officially overtaken cybersecurity as the #1 global tech budget priority for enterprises heading into 2025.
Wow, #1 priority, that's huge.
It signals a truly seismic shift. It likely means a multi-year supercycle of spending focused on AI infrastructure and development. And we're also seeing strategic cultivation efforts. Major AI labs like OpenAI are launching incubator programs. OpenAI Grove is one example cited. The goal is to nurture these early-stage AI-native companies, integrating them deeply into their ecosystems to basically shape future application development from the ground up.
This evolution brings immense promise, clearly. But it also raises some really important questions, doesn't it? How do we make sure these incredible advancements are built responsibly, sustainably, equitably, with robust safety protocols and clear regulatory frameworks in place?
Those are exactly the critical questions, and our research points to several significant challenges that are very much front of mind right now. We've already touched on that utility gap in privacy-preserving models like Vault Gemma. That highlights technical trade-offs that still need work. Then there's the geopolitical hardware race. That spiking brain development on MEDX GPUs really underscores this.
The chip war, yeah.
Exactly. The intensifying competition for AI hardware sovereignty. This could potentially lead to a kind of strategic bifurcation in AI research and development paths globally. Different regions pursuing different technological paradigms.
And the ethical concerns seem to be growing sharper, too.
They really are. Our team noted, for instance, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman issuing a pretty stark warning recently about the potential misuse of advanced AI for engineering things like pandemic-level pathogens. That's a chilling thought, right? It really raises the stakes for responsible development and oversight. And then there's the more immediate issue of increasingly convincing deepfake videos, the risks they pose to societal stability, creating new vectors for scams, misinformation. It's a serious challenge. Finally, something else our team flagged. The Anthropic New York Times copyright settlement. This could signal a potential end to the era of largely unrestricted data scraping for model training.
Which would have massive implications.
Huge implications. It could significantly reshape the legal and commercial landscape for AI development, impacting everything from data acquisition strategies to intellectual property rights. So yeah, these aren't minor footnotes. They are fundamental shifts demanding serious attention as this technology continues its rapid maturation.
Absolutely. Okay, quick pause here. If you're finding this insightful on YouTube, please do take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Tomorrow Unveiled, and maybe consider hitting that new hype button. It really helps us reach more viewers. And definitely turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the future from us here at Tomorrow Unveiled. And if you're listening on a podcast service, maybe Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could leave us a rating and perhaps a review for Tomorrow Unveiled. It genuinely helps new listeners discover the program. And one more thing, we really do love hearing your thoughts. Whether you're on YouTube or your favorite podcast app, drop a comment. Let us know what you think about this week's AI news, this shift towards more efficient, ethical, and specialized AI.
Yeah, definitely share your perspective. So to maybe summarize our deep dive today, it seems clear AI is maturing, doesn't it? It's moving beyond just brute force scaling. We're entering a new era, one defined more by intelligent design, by efficiency. We're witnessing this powerful convergence of AI with fields like neuroscience, with fundamental physics, and that's leading to systems that aren't just statistically impressive on benchmarks, but are aiming to be genuinely robust, efficient, and perhaps more grounded in the realities of our physical world.
It feels like the era of AI's childhood, characterized mostly by mimicry and learning through just consuming vast amounts of data. That might be drawing to a close. And maybe we are now entering the field's adolescence, a period defined more by integrating fundamental principles about the world into its very core, which leads to the big question: what new forms of intelligence, truly robust, truly efficient, will emerge as AI continues to learn not just what the world looks like from data, but how the world actually works? Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on Tomorrow Unveiled. We'll be back next time to unpack more of the world's most fascinating knowledge.